What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and popping into Generation Zero today, we are greeted with a brand new player survey. So today, we're going to talk about this player survey, go through some of the questions, and do some speculation and some theorizing on what this could potentially mean for the future of this game. This is actually a very interesting survey looking for tons of feedback on everything that was added in the Landfall update, as well as some very interesting feedback that we can give to the team for what could be worked on in the future, going way beyond what's going to be happening here with the Soviets. So let's get through this survey here and answer some of these questions and talk about some of the answers that we have here. As well, if you haven't popped into Generation Zero yet today, the link to this survey will be down in the description below. Man! Alright, I'm just getting through the next page here, and holy heck! These features! War stimulation, aiding a faction and having an impact on the war, that's crazy! The cybernetic implants! Man! The more factions, all of this! Oh, it's so good, dude! This is why I really like making videos on these player surveys. It's because we get such a spicy inside look at what the team has, just on the list of potentials, and the inside look is hype as fuck. Okay, so looking forward, easily the spiciest part of this entire survey. So which new type of machine would I like to see in the future? I'm going with androids because I think that that's got a lot of potential for like horror elements and like a whole bunch of stuff. Would I prefer to see new machine types or new non-machine enemies? I'd prefer new machine enemies. I feel like that's what kind of keeps Generation Zero's energy unique and gives us the opportunity for unique enemies like the wolves and the lynx. Then if there were going to be non-machine enemies, I'd want the exoskeleton Soviet units, because I feel like that would still kind of play in line to Generation Zero's realm of focusing on components and stuff like that. Maybe a headshot wouldn't be the way to take these dudes down. I'm just kind of realizing how grim that sounds after saying it, but yeah, I think that maybe even would play into a bit of the horror of Generation Zero as well. Maybe these exoskeleton units were like hacked by Bolshakov in like some sort of a way, shape, or form. But next up, what would you like to see added to the crafting system? And so, it's kind of similar to weapon attachment crafting, but utilizing machine components. I think it would be really cool to see, like, some sort of machine component utilization with our weapons and stuff. Then next up, what weapon type would you like to see in the future? And so I went with rifles. We just had a video on that on my channel just yesterday. Bow and crossbow, because I think it would be really cool to see some like technical arrow types and stuff like that we could use. And then for the last thing, the Iron Church sword, please. And then, alright dudes, so it's so hard to pick just 3, but I went with progression and skills for a feature I'd be excited to see worked on in the future, experimental weapons and equipment, and then repeatable missions, kind of like the base defense and stuff. But I would like to see just like more repeatable missions and activities across the world that would give us things to explore for and to reach and to travel to and stuff like that. But I really think that like any of this stuff would be great. Then, what features would I like to see in the game? And this is where it's like, there's so much hype stuff. Dynamic locations, more factions, like, please, Iron Church, come on, let's go. The cybernetic implants, the war stimulation. So, like, oh, man. So I went with more factions, war stim, and the cybernetic implants, because I think the trio of those would be crazy, man. Ability to swim, nice. What equipment would you like to be added to the game? Motorbikes, dirt bikes, let's go, dude. Then traps, so like tripwire explosives, stuff like that. And then boosters that we can use, so that way we could dirt bike off to a location, hop off, do some crazy stuff, and go around and bonk some machines or something. And then, is there anything else that you would like to see added to the game? And I put in a map expansion, because I think we're kind of due for one kind of soon. That island in the northeast of the map just looks more and more tempting as we go through the years here. But now some general questions on a 1 to 5 scale. For the graphics and visuals, I gave it a 4. That is just partially due to the fact that there's some like modern day stuff that I think would be awesome to see in Generation Zero, like ray tracing and stuff. But then, how would you rate the sounds and music? I gave that a 4 because still, sometimes you can encounter some lost sounds and some sound glitches and stuff. But I think once that gets tightened up, we'll be sitting at a solid 5. Overall, how easy is it to understand what you need to do in the game? I put a 5 because I find it very clear myself. How do you find the stability of the game in terms of crashes? Funnily enough, since Landfall, I haven't had a single crash, which is pretty crazy, but in the past, I've had a few crashes, but they didn't overall, like, negatively affect things. I don't think I've ever had a lost or corrupted save for Generation Zero. If I have, I was able to fix it or solve it, or it didn't really like negatively impact things. How do you find the performance of the game in terms of frame rate? Sometimes I can stutter even on my NASA PC, so I have some issues, but I wouldn't say that they negatively impact my experience. I still enjoy the game. How do you find the design of the game, or do you find the design of the game to be accessible? And nothing's ever prevented me from playing the game as intended. Alright, even more questions. Our next questions all pertain to DLC, and again, this is the spicy stuff that gives us a look at the future of, like, what might potentially be happening. So, for the preferred option for DLC, I went with a mix of big and small, but at least new free or paid content once per month. I really think that 2022 is the year to really seize the momentum, and really take that momentum and have just a crazy year. So that's why I'm going with that one. Otherwise, I would have gone with bigger releases. What type of small DLC would you be interested in us exploring in the future? And I went for weapon packs, building packs, equipment packs, vehicle packs, character cosmetic packs, and weapon cosmetic packs. No NPC companions or machine pets because I just don't think we need them. And no shortcuts because, again, I really don't think we need them. It's the journey and not the destination. And then, what type of large DLC would you be interested in us exploring in the future? And this is a really hype one. Because you could choose between either stuff on the main island, stuff on a new game mode in the main game of Generation Zero, and a new game mode on a new island. And I found just some sort of a new island would be the best thing here in Generation Zero, here in Year 4. And then, have you previously purchased any optional DLC? Heck yeah. For the next 2 pages here, it's just a bunch of personal questions about, like, what I've bought and how I buy them. And then the next questions are, like, you know, pricing. And one thing that I gotta say for Generation Zero, I feel like everything for Generation Zero is super fairly priced. And then, the last page here, new character creation. Dude. Out of all the questions I wasn't expecting, new character creation is up there. But what is my preference for creating a new character? I'd like to have a new character kind of like totally reset the world. So maybe even if we lost our 4-character save system, I'd be mostly okay with it as long as we got good heads up for it beforehand. Were you aware that Generation Zero could be played in English or Swedish? Yeah, man. And I much prefer it in the native language. I prefer Skirmish, the OG difficulty. And do I prefer to play with multiplayer difficulty scaling turned on? I do. It just kind of benefits playing in multiplayer. In general, how difficult do I find the game to be? And I find it to be very fair. Because there's always options. You can play it on Adventure, Skirmish, or Guerrilla, depending on the difficulty you would like. And leaving off here with the typical, stay golden, pony boy, and just a little bit of a booster there. But I gotta say, my dudes, go off, take out the survey. Yeah, man, friggin' headshot it, no scope it, 360, no scope this friggin' survey in the. So there we go, my dudes. I told you that this was a big player survey, but even I didn't realize how big it was until I started getting in there. Like, new enemy types, new factions, weapons, all of the stuff. Oh, man. It's going to be a crazy year, dudes, and I cannot wait to see what impact this survey is going to have on the game. We always see these player surveys have impacts over the short and long term, so I'm very curious what this one's going to amount to. But my dudes, I also want to know, what do you think of the player survey down in the comments below? Was there anything that stuck out to you or anything that you're really hoping for? Please let me know. Again, the link to that survey will be down in the description and in a pinned comment. But for now, my dudes, stay awesome, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.